Well, we're coming to the end of third quarter, and for a lot of you, this has been an outstanding year to operate your weight loss facility. Increase in gross sales, increases in profits, but even when you're doing well, that is now is more important than ever to be able to know your numbers. So as we come to the end of the quarter, I want to give you some recommendations that are common amongst long-term successful weight loss operations. Whether you're a physician, a chiropractor, an investor in a weight loss franchise, it's absolutely critical that you do this at least every quarter, preferably every month. But since we're coming up to this larger benchmark period, I thought it'd be a good idea to hit some of these items. First and foremost, you need to absolutely positively get your quarterly and year-to-date financials done, I would say by the 10th or 15th of October. Have them all done so you, as you're planning for next year, you have current data to be able to operate from. Now, why is this important? Well, first and foremost, if you are laying out your advertising strategy for next year, you need to know what you brought in so far this year. You need to know what your return on investment was for your advertising dollar. You need to know what your return was on your payroll dollar. You need to know what your net profit was. I mean, your true net profit. So you need to get your arms around these things, but it's not exclusively your financial statements. You also have to have your marketing data on top. You need to be on top of that. You need to know how many calls came in, how many leads you received, how many appointments were scheduled, how many people showed up, how many consultations converted to a sale, how many active patients, clients, or members you have in any given month. Get some aggregate number. You need to know those core, you can call them KPIs, you can call them key item indicators, whatever you want to call them. They're the numbers that matter in your center, in your office, in your clinic, in your practice. You need to have a good gauge on exactly what is going on. Without fail, centers that produce the most have the most data. Centers that produce the least usually have their arms around the least amount of data. Now, the object here is not to establish a level of paralysis from analysis. We're not going to sit around and just study these things all day. Really, the only things that matter initially when you get your profit and loss done is you want to look at, obviously, your gross sales number. And then the next thing is if your location is heavy on new program sales, restarting clients, second phase, third phase, second round, third round patients, you need to, and along with nutritional supplementation, you need to have a good idea, how does that mix live? How does it exist? Obviously, you want to have the preponderance of your sales come from new program sales. New clients, patients, and members are the lifeblood of your center. Not focusing on new people, you might as well just put your center up for sale or mark the end of life date for your center. It's all about new patients, clients, and members. There is no other item that is as important. Yes, you're going to have residual business from inactive and second round and additional phase people, but that's not what you want to be relying on. You need to be relying on new business. So you need to get an idea. Now, there's a lot of brands that we deal with. If you have supplementation that involves 2 to 6 supplements a day, in your program in one kind or in one form or another, usually your program product split should be 60-40. 60% of your sales should be coming from new program sales or program sales, and 40%, no more than 40% should be coming from product sales. A lot of times in older centers that are nutritional supplementation based, we find the opposite to be true, or worse yet, it may be 80% product and 20% programs. Again, put up the for sale sign, get out, unless you're going to focus on new program sales. Again, that's where the gravy is. If your center is not heavily focused, it's more based on the foods that people are eating, regular grocery store foods, and usually that's about an 80-20 split. 80% of your revenue should be coming from program sales. 20% of your revenue should be coming from some type of nutritional supplementation or product sales. Now, throw in the ancillary services into the mix, and that's a whole other conversation. I'm not going to give you any numbers on that because everybody's got a variety of things. Some of you are doing laser reduction, some of you have other types of equipment, some of you are doing a Meta Spa type environment. You're doing massage. You're doing all kinds of things. So you kind of have to judge for yourself, or you can inquire of us and we'll connect you with somebody else or gather some data for you to give you a better idea. But that's the general thing. So gross sales, then your program product split. The next thing you need to look at, it's by default, usually your advertising expense is the biggest. You need to see what kind of return you got on your advertising. Now, a few moments ago when I said you need to have your marketing data, hey, you need to figure out how much revenue did we generate based on a pay-per-click program, from Facebook advertising, from the newspaper, the radio, television, from flyers. You need to know all that data, whether it's compiled into one, as opposed to referrals, and as opposed to some people that couldn't give you a source. You need to have a good idea as to where where that revenue came from, because I'll use round numbers. If you had a $100,000 month and $40,000 of it was program sales, we have $60,000 that we need to trace. Of the $60,000, you may have had $20,000 that came from inactive or round two or second phase, third phase people. So that relieves us with $40,000 in program sales. Of the $40,000 in program sales, if you can track 30,000 of that to some type of advertising, doesn't have to be current, just someone referenced some type of advertising that you had, maybe not even by the specific source, just somehow referenced advertising. Now you've got some gauge. Okay, I spent $5,000 on advertising in this month and I got $30,000 in sales that could be attributed to advertising. So I've got a 6-time return on that. So you need to get some idea as to what your return level is. Now, ideally with advertising, you want to be at least 10%. In some markets, I know it'll be as high as 20%, especially if you're early on in a grand opening phase, or you have identified some triggers that are really working in your market. So then the next thing we need to look at is payroll dollars. You want to take the total amount you spent on payroll, and I would throw everything into it: the payroll, the taxes, the commissions, any bonuses, any perks, anything you did, meals you provided for the team, anything and everything that you would attribute to staff, travel, training, education, anything, heck, even our fee if we're training your staff. Pile all of that into it, get one big fat number, and then take a look at your gross sales number. If you spend $20,000 on payroll in a month and you had a $100,000 month, well, then you got a 5-time return. What we're looking for is an 8 to 10 time return. That your team should be generating 8 to 10 times in revenue based on what you are paying them. So those are two gauges you want to look at. So if your advertising's not getting the return that you want, you need to fix it. If it is getting the return that you want to see, hey, can we do even better? If your payroll dollar is not getting the return that you want, maybe additional training or new staff members or some realignment in the way your team is managed or the functions that they serve in the center need to be addressed. But you're not going to know this unless you get your P&L done. Then you're looking at your net profit. By and large, in the weight loss industry, for any center that's been open for at least a couple of years, or any practice or clinic that's been involved with weight loss for a couple of years, you've got about a 20, maybe 30% pre-tax profit that you're enjoying. Somewhere in that neighborhood. If you're lower than that, we need to take a look at it. Now, one last note on P&Ls. A lot of you that watch these videos are physicians. A lot of you are chiropractors. You have other services going on. You need to keep these things separate and distinct. I remember a location in Melbourne, Florida, that, in fact, I just saw a ghost ship washed up on shore just on the coast of Melbourne. Great city in Florida. But I was working with a group of physicians in Melbourne, and they were saying, our weight loss function is just, we're losing money hand over fist. I said, well, send me your send me your P&L, let me take a look at it. And I'm looking at it, and sure enough, they had lost like $50,000 over the course of the year. But then I'm looking at things, and I'm seeing medical supplies, $120,000. There is no weight loss center on planet Earth that has a need for medical supplies. I think that was for a quarter, $100 and some odd thousand. So I asked about it, and I asked about a number of other things. The labor number was completely out of whack. Well, what was happening was their accountant was just throwing everything in and not separating the medical practice from the weight loss practice. I encourage them to have their accountant do the separation, and sure enough, the weight loss element was returned. It had about a 30% pre-tax profit that it was generating based on those P&L, that P&L period. So when you can get a polluted view of it if you don't keep these things separate. Now, quick note on accountants. For accountants, this is a dumbed down deal. This is one of the lowest grade projects they could conceivably work on. They are simply taking what you spent and categorizing it into the right accounts and handing it to you. It is a low grade, low cost activity. The key is to get them to do it efficiently, do it quickly, and stick to your timelines to get it by the 10th or the 15th of every month. Or if you're, good God, and anybody just looks at it quarterly, you might as well just shoot yourself in the foot sometimes. But if you have no choice and you can only look at it quarterly, make sure you get them done quarterly. And for God's sakes, of course you need to do them annually because you're doing your taxes. So get on top of that. The other element are the marketing issues. You need to be on top of your marketing issues. This video is going too long as it is, so we'll chunk down marketing issues on another day. Have a great day.